Alright, boys. I'm back with another video. Something really quick because I really want to get this video out before part 5, episode 1 came out. Episode 1, if you just watched this to see part 5. But I was really slurred by academics and all that. So I couldn't get around to this. But I finished reading part 5 about 3 days ago, and I really feel like maybe I should give all my personal thoughts because it's going to be more about why you should watch part 5 as it progresses. But based on what I've seen from the manga and from people say loose translations, I thought I found the most quality translations possible. Even with the translations that I used, it wasn't good. I mean, it wasn't bad, but like if you thought like part 1 and 2 were good or great, and then you thought part 3 was great, like I do, and part 4 was like, it was alright, but it wasn't the greatest. You might find part 5 is a rock bottom thus far. Typically, the people I see who like part 5 are people who weren't the biggest fans of the old, like kind of grimy classic style of the earlier parts, and part 3 really didn't even inspire them that much. People who really love part 4 may love part 5 because I feel like they are kind of in the same boat. But this isn't a why part 5 is bad video, I promise. But there will be a little bit of spoilers, so take that into as you watch this. So I got 6 quick steps, um, features, whatever you want to say, for why you should watch part 5. First one, Giorno Giovanna. Uh, I mean, I kind of got to spoil it. I think if you watch part 1, or you're familiar with this at all, then you should know what his background. Um, he's the son of Dio. I'm not exactly sure who his mother is. That's literally never expounded upon. Okay, I think his mother is said and like some general character traits, her being like a terrible mom, but that's not really even expounded upon itself. So pretty much, he has a mom that got smashed by old Dio. Dio was, from what I gather, Dio was like looting women's boom boom while also sucking them off. And I guess he didn't wrap it up one time and then he rated. Well, he didn't wrap it up several times, but that's another story entirely. Um, and he created Giorno while in Jonathan's body, the OG JoJo. So in that manner, he is a Joestar, which I had problems with initially too. Like how it's Geo, not JoJo, but it makes sense in the end. Um, so you have to make sure the OBS is still functioning. Anyway, so really, he's a really flashy character initially, and I'd say his expansion isn't necessarily like thematic, like expansion. Like he still has the same general list of ideals all the way through his entire like series. Like the JoJo, the GG, the Geo you see in the beginning. I mean, that's really the Geo you get. Period. Um, his strongest attribute to me, and it shows in mainly the battles. So that's usually where the only time you get exposition to Giorno. He just has such a will that's like it's almost like Luffy. It reminds me a lot of Luffy or maybe even Naruto in how linear it is and how direct it is. There's no like uh waning away from the goal like a Jotaro because there's a good grief, yari yari does it. There's no like circumventing it to do like I guess a less ethical way to do it, like a Joseph. He reminds me a lot of Jonathan, which I guess it makes sense because he's directly like Jonathan's spawn in a way. So I kind of, for a lot of the way I saw it described and read it one time was that think of Giorno as Jonathan Joestar's son that has Dio's, I guess, what's what I'm looking for? Ruthlessness to achieve his goal. He's like Batman, I guess. And while he's not amazing, he's not incredible. He's not there's not much flair to him. Let me say that he works, I guess, as a character. He works, and he gets like some of the things you won't get much exposition to him as a character or like any deeper goals, but you'll get some moments where you like him more. And the gang star, that's a line people really love. Um, oh yeah, I forgot to mention his stand as the series progresses. The end of it, he ends up getting like the most broken stand outside of Made in Heaven. Number two, it's already 5 minutes long. This might be a long video. I'm sorry. Number two, Bruno Bucciarati. I heard this said yesterday, and I still forgot how to pronounce it. But anyway, Bruno. In the same way that part three, Polnareff ends up being like the most likable guy when you realize everything has transpired over the plot, the most admirable guy, the guy you stand up for and salute like the troops. You look over to Bruno Bucciarati in this, and you think the same way, really. Bruno is the main boss, if you haven't watched, the main boss of his squad. Initially, he's just a little low-level mobster, um, you know, a passion fodder, really. He becomes capo after, spoiler alert, after the boy, Giono just like literally ices the former capo with his own gun. Yo, the power of golden experience or golden win, as some want to incorrectly call it. It's sometimes it's broken, sometimes it's disgusting how underused it is. But anyway, he becomes new capo and decides to move on up by using the money that the former capo had left behind after being murdered. And it just goes up from there for Bruno. He has the most interesting fighting scenes in this show, in my opinion, for his out of his game. Um, I'm really interested to see Narancia his in particular because that's gonna be really interesting to see Narancia fight. Because his one main fight is really good, and Purple Haze is a broken stand. But you you just don't get like the amount of consistency because fighting fighting Zipper Man is like a good comparison would be Akiyasu stand, where it's the most adept fighting stand in the whole series, and it has potential to like be used versatile in a versatile manner. But unlike Okuyasu, it's actually used in a versatile manner, not just potentially. And it runs a lot of I guess Silver Chariot and how many scenes it gets. A lot of exposition goes back and forth between Polnareff and our boy Bruno here, and he's just a cool dude. I mean, I like his fit here, and this could be like some BDIT, some uh, some Andamila type shit right here. It's really exceptional. His relationship with Giorno is really the only relationship Giorno has with pretty much any of the mobsters that's actually deep. Only 5'10". Wow, that's crazy. I could be Bruno Brusciolati. I was choking on that for a second because I didn't want to disrespect the boy Bruno. But yeah, Bruno's I'm really trying not to spoil too much. Bruno's end to this, his last fight or his last decision to fight is really impressive. And the way he goes out is I won't say it's like Iggy level, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. They gave him a good closer. Okay, so let's see. What's my next little step? I'm trying to hurry this up a little bit. First one doesn't severely harken back to the past. Okay, yeah, that's pretty accurate. So what I think if you've watched all four parts at this point, you realize after even the first one that two features Ario Speedwagon, the Vampires, um, some Arena Joestar, and of course Hamon pretty heavily, and the Pelly Sun. So you realize that pretty much everything that's not Dio is brought back in part two, expounded upon, and the same themes kind of, but they replace them with the humor and quirkiness of Joseph instead of Jonathan's uh, thorough morale and heroism. It's done differently, and but it still expounds upon part one. With part three, you have the return of Dio. You have the introduction of Stans, which shakes up heavily, but stands aren't like the end all be all at that point. They're the main force of fighting, but they're not like the only force of fighting, which leads onto more a little bit of hand-to-hand fighting, a little like minute, a little bit like the healing vampire techniques that Dio had. Uh, Actually shown better off in Cool Ice than it is in Dio because apparently it takes Dio 27 decades to like heal Jonathan's body, which is unnerving, but to each their own Joestar. Um, and what else? The part three feature pretty heavily. I mean, obviously, Joseph Joestar. Irina, I think, is gone by that. No, she should still be alive. I think Irina is still alive. Yeah, Irina is featured. Um, Holly Joestar is no Susie Q. Susie Q is Joseph's wife, not Irina. Irina is dead by that point. Irina is long gone by that point. RP Irina Joestar. Um, but yeah, Irina's gone by that point. But you have Joseph, who's pretty much just as interesting as he was in part two. Not as featured, but I think he ends up being like the third most featured of the game behind not Kakyoin, Polnareff, and of course the boy Jotaro. And yeah, I mean it's about the point in part two in many ways, but if you had to put in like to buddy buddies, part one and part two are like a pair, and then part three and part four are more of a pair than part three and part two. I kind of don't want to say that because I feel like part three and part two are really interesting together in terms of art style. Like part four and part five are more similar in part in art style, but the point is that's where the buck ends for those two. Koichi is featured for about I want to say 5 chapters, maybe at the most. Jotaro is pretty much only mentioned in passing. I mean, like he serves the purpose of getting Jono introduced, but that's about it. Uh, there's one more guy from part three that's maybe I was saying too much right there because I mean, there's only one other guy could possibly be from part three that's in there, but there's one more guy from part three that's featured in part five, and it's well done, but it's also like it could be like anybody else, like a new character. Instead, it would have like pretty much serve the same purpose because that one guy doesn't get any like incredible throwback scenes. I thought he was Von Stroheim before I realized that Von Stroheim was like 200 years old by that point, but that's who I thought he was, and it ends up not being that guy. Which also gives you a pretty heavy idea of who that part three is, but I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, so part five really feels like like I I heard like on Reddit while we're looking up, why is part five not very good, that it was supposed to be its own like conclusion. Well, part four was supposed to be the conclusion, and part five was like a little misdirection from the series, like the same way that I guess not in the same way that part six, seven, and eight are. Because part six is like a continuation of the main part one through four. I don't think it's supposed to be a completely different universe, but it's not like supposed to be like the same main Joestar lineage. Basically, it's a little bit misdirection, and it feels like that. I mean, the stands are a lot different, like a lot more versatile. There's not as clear discrepancy between the main stands and other stands. Like if you look at this right here, people really like the stands in part five, which part five is really beloved across. If you don't believe this, look it up. Part five is like loved across the world except America. America hates it, but everyone else likes it. Part five, I can't really say it had no stands that were better than the others, but like it didn't have too many stands that you just sat down and was like, okay, this is broken. It's like Star Platinum, for example, part three. Star Platinum was by far the best stand in the whole series until the end, where you think, okay, Zawardo is, just about as good. But then the potential will start playing and put it above Zawardo. There were maybe a couple stands that like could somewhat subvert the just cunningness of Star Platinum. But Jotaro will pull something out of his butt and then basically be like, okay, well, Star Platinum's still better than whatever stand you have. Anyway, in part four, it was a little bit more balanced, with a lot more balance. It's Crazy Diamond. It was, and whenever you got in his range, a pretty OP stand. Outside of his range was very neuter, even compared to Star Platinum. It couldn't, really do much. It has throwing power if it showed, of course, but other than that, it wasn't very useful. But it kind of got offset by his healing ability and the ability to heal items where he could you know, reverse them back to the as a projectile to whoever he's fighting. So even then, it was probably like a top 2 or 3 stand. I feel like if you used um, Killer Queen to his optimal standards and just fought him 1-on-1, you probably couldn't beat Kira 1-on-1. And I mean, if Jotaro practiced at all over the his break, I guess from part 3 to part 4, of course, Star Platinum would wash that Crazy Diamond very easily, with very little effort at all. But it's neutered. They pretty much neutered Star Platinum so it could be like a realistic series. 'Cause otherwise, Jotaro just came in, Star Platinum, and smacked the hell out of somebody, and that would have been the end of whatever fight Jotaro was in. They basically neutered Jotaro so they could have an actual show, which made me mad because I love Jotaro, but what can I say? Um, you know, there's nothing else that really gets harkened back. Like none of the storylines as far as trying to save. Oh, I forgot. There's one storyline from Egypt that gets carried over, and it follows the guy from part 3. I'm spoiling pretty much the main part of part 3 at this point, but the the, the arrows get brought back basically. That ends up being the connecting part from this distinct little pocket of Italy to the main, Japan storyline. That becomes the connection to the Arrow. But other than that, it's mainly by itself. Uh, part 17 minutes. Wow. Okay, let's try to hurry up. This one's pretty simple. The cast was very colorful. When people think about like JoJo as a really like kind of feminine, um, effeminate type of thing, anime really, it begins in part 4. Like some of the poses and I guess designs they had in there were kind of, I don't want to say fruity because I mean it doesn't really like, I like it. I like the art design and the poses and stuff like that doesn't really unnerve me at all. But some people like put it in that category, so I just operate with that title. It being kind of fruity, whatever, but colorful. Um, it begins in part 4 with guys like Josuke and Killer Queen's stand for some, like I remember Killer Queen's stand being very bendable, which is weird. I don't know why. But it's not too heavy. Like it's not like overwhelming. I think they actually pulled it back to make it. I remember there being some story they pulled it back to make it seem like either more heterosexual. I think it's more heterosexual. It's something they did to make it seem like that. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I have to probably look it up later. But part 5, you look at a little bit the part 5 designs. I would also say Joseph was kind of in that same lane, but that's just Joseph. The rest of that particular part was very masculine, as they would say. But you look at part 5, you look at the, I probably shouldn't point out too many things. You look at the Rancia, you look at pretty much everything Bruno is in. Bruno's very effeminate, like poses and mannerisms throughout the whole series, really. Ab, God, what is that man's name? I can't remember his name. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up. A lot of the who else? Diavolo. Diavolo's also created pretty effeminate. So it's really just a thing they do with that particular cast, um, to make it progressive. I guess I don't know. I mean, it's constructive colorism. You might as well do it however you want to do it. I mean, I don't understand why you would do it any other way. I mean, it's what they're known for at this point, pretty much. It made them stand out. Yeah, you look up part. I think if you just look up part like JoJo part and look up feminine, it probably go to part 5 automatically because it's the Yeah, see, look at this right here. The fabulous is a certain style no other fighting manga has. Everything is something like yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can read it right here. It's I forgot about Dio in part three. I guess that kind of started off too. Whatever. Um, so let's see. I got the stand diversity. I got the cast. I got Bruno being the goat. I got Giorno being alright. I mentioned the boss earlier this video, but you won't know unless you read the part. So the boss, Bru- I can't say I shouldn't say the name. But Bruno decides to go against the boss at the last second. As you will know if you even watch part of the episode one and two, Giorno it comes in with the idea that he's gonna stop all this evil that the boss creates. So I mean that's not a spoiler. You that's if he didn't have that, there wouldn't be a part five. So that's not really spoiling anything. But Bruno agrees, as you would know if you're watching episode two. Um, Bruno allows Giorno to come in because he also wants to change the things that's happening. And at the very last, like I won't say in chapter or episode because I don't know the episode, but in chapter towards the end, you get a situation where Bruno realizes it's go time against the boss, and the boss has already been built up as like pretty much like a G, but his stand is like I don't know if I can compare to somebody without like giving away the power of the stand, but his stand is like really, really like with his userism of it, is that a word? With his usage of it, it's probably the second best stand in this show behind the last stand introduced in this show. It's OP. Like compared to there's no Star Platinum to fight it. There's no Zawardo to fight it. There's no Crazy Diamond can even fight it. Like it's really a ridiculously broken stand. It can only really got what's the word I'm looking for? Dos Ex Machina basically to lose, but if it wasn't for that, it was by far the most broken stand in the show. But that's my key points. Um, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit long. I didn't get to constrain it very well because I've been moaning on and a lot of us. But hey, I hope you enjoy it. Hope you are enjoying part five, and I hope you continue to watch part five because even just like the manga, the anime is well worth it. I promise that the fighting scenes in the anime will be flawless. Deuces.